had the chance to conclude the day, very intensive day in terms of conference and work, with Stéphanie Rigourd. Stéphanie Rigourd is a classically trained sommelier who studied under some of the best wine masters in France. She was accepted to the prestigious l'Hermitage Hotel School in 2005, renowned for its rigorous and highly exclusive curriculum, and obtained mention complémentaire de sommellerie and a diploma in formation complémentaire d'initiative locale with a special mention. She works at sommelier in different places, and she works notably for Les Sources de Caudelie and the Michelin-starred restaurant Le Charlemagne. She joined the Raffles Hotel Singapore as wine director since October 2015, and she was previously head sommelier with a local hotel for 6 years. Her unwavering dedication and broad knowledge of wine has earned the respect of many in the industry. At Raffles Singapore, Stéphanie makes wine more accessible to the public through programs that include wine apprentice classes, a series of interactive wine education lessons, 30 Thursday, which are themed monthly events with blind tastings to introduce new wines, as well as present regular wine pair dinners, created in collaboration with Raffles Singapore teams of esteemed chefs. She's also charged with mentoring her team of trainee sommeliers. She truly believes that Asia is the next place for amazing wines. Thank you very much. To welcome Stéphanie Rigourd.
Celui-là, là. No.
Doesn't work. This one, the other one.
Je peux prendre celui-là sinon. Good evening, everyone. Hi. Thanks for this introduction, Xavier, and thanks for welcoming me here tonight. So I've been asked to talk a bit about how I ended up here as a wine director of Raffles Hotel at not even 30 years old. What did I do to arrive there, and why? So I think it's interesting for me to share that with you because all of you here have got a big common point that I don't share with you. I didn't study, almost didn't study. I was really bad at school. I didn't like it, not at all actually. I was a gymnast for 15 years and my dream was to become one day an Olympic champion. It never happened. And when I was 16 years old, my teacher told me, what are we going to do with you? I was like, well, I don't know. All I know is that I love sports and, oh wait, I love eating. I love wine, which is quite unusual for 16 years old. And I do believe that hospitality could be an industry for me as I love talking. And you will hear that tonight. I can't stop talking actually, but I know you're thirsty, so I won't talk too much, I promise. So then I decided to study an apprenticeship, what we call in France CAP, certificat that you may have heard before. So it's basically a program where you go to school once a month, 1 week a month, and the rest of the time you work as a full-time in a restaurant. So let me tell you that right away I understood what is life about, because at 16 years old you are up there in your crowd and you don't think about working so hard yet. And then suddenly you arrive in this world, which is hospitality, where you work 12 to 14 hours a day, when you work on weekends, when you work at night, when you work for Christmas. Welcome to the real world. But I loved it right away. But after 2 years as a trainee waiter in this apprenticeship, I realized that wine is really my passion, because I was brought to serve wine, to speak about it, and to share about it. And at the time, the people who were taking care of me in that restaurant where I was working told me, you should try the application for the prestigious school of l'Hermitage, which is one of the best sommelier schools in France. And I was like, what, me? My teacher told me what we are going to do with you. I can't do that. I mean, and I tried. And I got in, and my life changed for good, because this school is fantastic, and they didn't teach me anything. They actually share their passion. And they let me have this one passion growing in me, and it became like amazing for me. So following that, I work in Bordeaux, like Xavier said. I won't redo the whole things, but I work in Bordeaux, and I was lucky enough to work with Christophe Santos, who is a very, very fantastic sommelier. Well, sorry to use this word, but he kicked my ass very hard. I was crying a lot. I could have been sponsored by Kleenex at the time. But I learned once again what is life about. And after visiting 142 chateaux on my off time, beside partying in Quai Paludat in Bordeaux and working really hard, I decided to move to Burgundy, to Bourgogne, because at the time it was the one region that I couldn't understand at all from the books. So I moved there, and where I was really lucky is that I met up with Laurent Peugeot, who is a young Michelin star chef. And this chef, when I was only 21 years old, gave me the position of chef sommelier, where I had the chance to manage a wine cellar of 1,000 labels and to really grow my knowledge into Bourgogne wine. So at the time, I never traveled, I couldn't speak English. All I talk is that I will be chef sommelier in a restaurant, and that's it. And one day, there's a gentleman who was working in Singapore. He's French, and he was the general manager for Southeast Asia for Hilton Group. And he came with his wife for lunch, and he asked to see the chef sommelier. So I came to his table, and he said, no, I asked to see the chef sommelier. Yeah, it's me. So what? Well, let me tell you, when you look so young like I do, because even for my age, people still think I'm trainee sometimes, when you have a small voice, quite nice voice I do, but small voice with a terrible French accent when I speak in English, was even worse. But at the time when I came to his table, he looked at me like, wow, who is she? And then I started to tease him, and he ended up giving me his card and say, if you want to work for me, just let me know. I would love to have you working for me in Singapore. And I say, well, where is Singapore? Is it in China? And he said, no, it's not in China. And I say, oh, do they speak Chinese then? Or what's going on there? He said, no, speak English, it's fine. Well, I don't speak English. It's okay, I will teach you, just come. So at the time, I let you imagine how my family or my friends were when I told them, look, in 2 months' time, I'm taking an airplane for the first time of my life. I'm going to fly 13 hours and end up in Singapore. I don't know where is it, I don't know what it is. And I don't speak English, but it's okay, I will take a job over there. And then the journey began even bigger, because at the time when I reached Singapore, I was 22. And this gentleman really took care of me. He taught me English, but not only English. He taught me how to behave in society, because I'm from my countryside and I'm from a modest family, so I didn't really know how to behave in society. So when you ended up doing the wine cellar for the French ambassador or any other prestigious ambassador in Singapore, you need to know how to behave. So he basically taught me all these codes, English, and he also told me that sommelier is not only one job where you serve wine in restaurants, you can do much more with this. So since that, I decided to grow my perspective and to see differently things. So I worked for him for 6 years. I started by being the sommelier for one restaurant in the Hilton Singapore, and I ended up taking care of the 2 hotels of the group in Singapore and doing consulting for them in Southeast Asia to build up wine lists and to help sommelier to grow, and actually not even sommelier, people to become sommelier one day. So that was a fantastic journey with Hilton. And he ended up, as Xavier explained, in 2015 when Raffles Hotel gave me a call and asked me if I wanted to be their wine director. I literally freaked out, but I said yes, and so far it's doing well, I think. So this is the way it happened. So I just studied 2 years in the sommelier school, a diploma that is not even recognized in Singapore, and I ended up there. So it's still possible, even for people who don't study. It's the point I was trying to make. But yeah, so this is about my journey in my career, like you wanted me to share, right? It's good enough? Okay. So I've also been asked to talk more about what is sommelier about, because maybe not all of you have been to those kind of restaurants where they are sommelier. So sommelier are basically, in a few words, prescriptor of pleasure. Sommelier are, what I strongly believe, the messenger of the winemaker. So the role of the sommelier is to be in the restaurant or in a hotel and to go to guest table and to help them to have the best experience of their life. The role of the sommelier is to put on the table the philosophy, the hard work of a winemaker, and to embrace the whole experience of the guest. So yes, the sommelier is serving the wine, but more than that, is looking for those wines. The sommelier is traveling into vineyard, discovering winemakers, and going on the floor in the restaurants to share the hard work of these winemakers. So basically is what a sommelier do. Wine director, it's a slightly different story, is that now I have to sit down behind a computer in the office, and I have to work on a lot of Excel tablers, on forecasting, budgeting, P&L, and all this kind of stuff. So basically is what changed. I'm not only picking wines and serving wine, I'm also taking care of all the revenue sides. And of course, I have to take care of my sommelier team and make sure that they grow, learn, and become the next wine director. Why not? So this is it's about my job. Voilà, good enough? Okay, fine. So then Xavier asked me to pick a topic for tonight, to speak about something. So I decided to talk about a topic that is very, how to say, sensitive at the moment, and most importantly, a topic that really pisses me off, but really do. I mean, it's something that's really irritating me. So I'm happy to share that with you tonight. You know, I can speak about it and relieve of this angriness that I have about this topic. Natural wines. Big topic, big topic. I'm not an expert into it. I haven't made any essay about natural wines. But have you heard about natural wines before? Okay, okay, fine. So I explain to you where it's coming from first, okay? So, you know, there is a new trend which is good for people to take care of their health, for the producer of any kind of things, not only wines, to take care of the environment. This is really, really good. But there's a bit of mix-up with everything, and it's, I believe, coming from a marketing point of things. So basically, wine, it's not natural. Vinegar is natural. If you pick grapes, you put it in a tank, start the fermentation alcoholic, with no human being there to check the temperature and to follow this yeast during the fermentation, you are not going to make a wine, you are going to make vinegar. What natural wines and where means and why people are very confused is because on the market you find wines that are so-called organic, biodynamic, certified organic, certified bio. You have so many kind of appellations. So tonight I want to make it very clear. But before to speak about that, since I see there are people who maybe don't know much about wine, we can't speak about wine and you can't understand wine, and you will never get interested about wine if you are not yet, if you don't understand one word, which is the most important. This word is called terroir. T-E-R-R-O-I-R. Too many R for people who don't speak French, I know. But this word is not, there's no translation for it. So I've been making wine, it's a part of my life that I didn't speak, but making wine is one of my strongest passions. So I had the chance to make wine in different parts of the world. Everyone is talking about the terroir because it's the base of the basics. You can't understand wine if you don't understand that. And you can't understand what I'm going to say about natural wine if you don't understand the terroir. So let me make it quick. But if you remember one thing tonight and it's terroir, it's good enough because it's really the basics of the basics. So the terroir is basically what makes wine so beautiful. It's what makes wine so amazing. The terroir is the capacity to have in one bottle only few criteria together. The first one is the soil. So French people or French people, I mean people who speak French, Anglo-Saxon, not Anglo-Saxon, they will think terroir, the base of the word is terre, so it's earth. But no at all. It's not only earth, it's many things, many criteria. So the first one is the soil. The soil is really important, it's critical. There's the weather, And there's the most important part of it, the winemaker, the hands of the winemaker. The soil is important because the quality of the soil, the variety of the soil will have a huge impact on the wine itself. So if you have soil that are super rich in nutrients with a lot of water, you are going to make really poor wine. Because the vineyards need to suffer. You need the roots to suffer and to go deep down the floor, the soil, to have this concentration in the grapes that are required to make concentrated wine. You don't want to drink watery wine. You want to drink concentrated wine. And to find this concentration, you need to have those grapes, this vineyard, fighting for it, and the roots going deep down the soil and to have this beautiful concentration. So rich soil means poor wine. And rich wines come from poor soil. Then the quality of the soil itself. If you have sandy soil, you will have lighter wine. If you have iron soil, it's really good from some grape variety like Pinot Noir. If you have gravel soil, les graves, the Bordeaux, I don't know if you have heard about this before, but it's very good for some Merlot Cabernet. And the little granite gravel, it's very good for Syrah. So each soil has got a type of grape that will grow better on it. This is one of the basics. Therefore, in Bordeaux, you find only Merlot and Cabernet. Therefore, in Burgundy, you find only Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. This is the reason why. And then you have got the weather. The weather is really important because who say hot sun, say high photosynthesis. I don't know if some people have heard about it, but basically, if you have more sun, you have more sugar in your fruit to make it short. And who say more fruits in your grapes, say more alcohol because it's alcoholic fermentation. So the wines coming from warm area will be bigger. And when I say bigger, I mean richer in terms of density, alcohol. Who say cool weather, so freezing weather, you will have cooler wines, wines with higher acidity. When somebody speaks about freshness, crispiness, dynamism, they are talking about acidity. But you don't tell to a guest or somebody you want to sell wine to that the wine is lovely, super acidic, you will love it. You never say that. You say it's refreshing, crispy, dynamic. So when I use this term, I'm talking about the acidity. And this wine comes from cool area. So therefore, the weather is super important. And then if you have heavy storm, heavy rain, your grapes will be full of water. And again, we lose this concentration and we have watery wines. We don't want that. And then the third one and the most important one is the winemaker and his philosophy and his way of working. You have winemakers who make wine for markets instead of following their terroir. It's what I call factory wineries. Instead of making a wine by respecting their soil and the weather and what the nature can give, they will simply, in the winery, try to make the wine. This is the difference between winemaker and wine producer. I strongly believe in well-born wine, not in well-made wine. We don't make wine. It's not a car. Wine is born in our vineyards. Wine is the reflection of the terroir. So the winemaker has a capital role into that because, first of all, he's the one deciding if he wants to make it or if just he wants to make it born alive this way or another way. So this is really important. And then he's the one who will decide if he wants to respect the nature or not, if he wants to respect the consumer or not. So there I come to the natural wines. Natural wines is a new term that you may have heard in Paris. There's a lot of pop-up bar called natural wine bar. Even in Singapore, there are a few. Natural wines have got no official rules, so it could be anything. But let me explain you where it's coming from. So I was saying earlier we have the biodynamic, all these things. When it comes to wine and this approach towards the nature, the environment, to protect the environment, we have got in Europe the AB label that you may have seen before, agriculture biologique. That means that anyone producing wine or any kind of things actually in the environment is protecting the environment by following specific rules. And it takes about 3 to 4 years to get this agreementation from the government. So they don't use this type of chemical, they are limited in the amount of sulfur they will use and so forth and so on. So it's an agreementation that it takes a really long time to get and it's clear for everyone. Now, are the wines from this production better than others? Not necessary. In any case, it's never a point of comparison for quality. And let me explain you why. I've been talking a lot about Burgundy. I don't know why. I love this region. Burgundy is so difficult in terms of weather. They have a lot of rain. For people to become certified agriculture biologique, so bio, it will take them forever, and if they do, they might lose the entire production a few years in a row. So it's a very difficult decision to make, and not all the winemakers are selling Grand Cru Classé or Romanée Conti. Not all of them are making a lot of money by making wines, by producing wines. So it's not that easy to become certified, and it's not a choice, just a choice like that. So this is for the certified bio, the AB. And yes, one more thing. The winemaker can do restricting things in his vineyards to protect the environment, but when it comes to what he does in the winery, it's only since 2008 that it's controlled. Meaning before 2008, or even now, if you buy an AB wine from 2006 vintage, yes, the winemaker protected the environment, but in the cellar, he can dump into the tank as much chemical as he wants. Nobody will check. So this is the thing about bio. Then there is the biodynamic, and people mixed up everything. Biodynamic, again, there is no clear rules for that. It's coming up. Soon there will be rules and everything. But biodynamic, it's a belief. So just like a religion, and it could be a very sensitive topic to speak with some people. It was created during the World War II by a German Nazi at the time. The first school popped up in this area. And regardless who is he and where he comes from, it's a belief, and it could be controversial because of the reason I just gave. So it's a belief that the moon and the sun has a huge impact on the vegetal. It's a belief that with the what they call the preparation 500, where you use cow horn and inside you put a bit of zinc, this only a cow horn can save 1 hectare of vineyards from some disease. So it's a belief. We can't judge that. But people following biodynamic are not necessarily certified AB. So you see the difference. And another thing to say, organic wines, it's another certification from outside of Europe. And the rules they have is different than in Europe. So you see where the confusion comes from. And then come the natural wine. So it's basically a hipster coming out and say we should eat bio, we should do many things, which is cool, no problem with that. But let's make bio wine, let's say it's natural, it's coming from the earth and nothing else. Okay, fine, great with that, as long as the wine is drinkable, but at the moment it's not. Most of the natural wine are not. I have tried quite a good ones, but again, some people doing so-called natural wines are following the AB rules or not, are following the biodynamic system or not, but not everyone, because it's free. So you find everything, the really bad ones and a very good one. So natural wines, in one word, it's a trend. It's a trend that is happening. It could be good, but it needs to be managed a bit more. It's what I feel. So I chose this topic because it's irritating me, because at the moment I'm working on the new wine list for the reopening of Raffles Hotel, and because we're under restoration. And I have many people asking me, oh yes, so are you putting organic wine or natural wine? Oh, that would be super cool, because now I drink only this, you know, it's fantastic. I don't have any headaches since that. Well, yes, I will put some because it's not my hotel, right? But be careful also with these headache things. You can have a headache after drinking wine, but it depends how many bottles you drank, right? It's not necessarily one glass that gives you the headache. But more seriously, what about the sulfur? Everyone is talking about the sulfur. Trust me, sulfur is the wrong enemy. It's not about sulfur, it's about the amount of sulfur that you use to make your wine. Some winemakers are using just a tiny bit to sanitize and just to protect the wines, because trust me, wines that are traveling all the way from France 3 weeks on a boat to Singapore with no sulfur, you have more chance to open a bottle that is vinegar ready for kitchen than a bottle that I can sell to you, that's for sure. So sulfur is important. I'm not saying you cannot make wine without sulfur. I'm just saying that what is really critical is the amount of sulfur that is used. Sulfur is everywhere. It's natural. It's in our bodies. When you buy a packet of biscuits in a supermarket, you have sulfur in. the 25EEE, I think the codes. So it's everywhere. Anyway, finished with that. The natural wine is okay? Good enough? Okay, fine. So now you need to pick 3%. I picked 3%. Okay, who wants to test wine? Well, somebody. Okay, 1, you were the first one. A lady, 2. Ah, yeah, okay, fine. Ah, si connaît. On va se mettre là. 1, 2, 3. Bon, vous mettez derrière comme ça. You are right. Comment vous appelez?
Léa.
Léa?
Yacine.
Yacine? Zoé. Léa, Yacine, Zoé. Ah, okay, sorry.
Maybe that's the one that we will test upstairs just after. After the first explanation by Stéphanie, we will go up and we have enough bottles and glasses for everybody. So we will do that just after.
Yes, I have heard many comments when I enter the room, people saying, oh, there's only 3 bottles, oh my God, we came here for what? And, but no, there are much more upstairs, and the good news, I don't know if it's a good news, but if you want to ask me a question, I will stay upstairs because I'm thirsty too. So what I'm going to do is, because upstairs is a bit complicated to do the tasting, and I cannot explain to all of you the steps and everything. What I'm going to do is to give you the main steps of a professional wine tasting, the way we learn it at school, and the way all the wine professionals are using when we write down professional tasting notes for magazine or for our own, basically. So, what is the first thing we do when we test wine?
We drink it.
So precisely, the good thing is really different. We are doing a degustation, tasting, and you say, yeah, we know tasting, drinking is about the same. No, it's not the same. When you drink, you don't think. You open your mouth, you drink it, it's finished, right? Tasting is a process, and is what we are going to see now. So any idea what is the first step when you test wine? Before smelling? Watch, view, yes, absolutely. So it's what we call the view. So you take your glass. So we hold the glass by the stem. I know it's very fancy and it looks cool to carry his glass like this, but no, please don't. I mean, when you bring your girlfriend to the restaurant, you bring her by the arm, right? So it's the same with the glass. You don't carry it here. Be elegant. And beside joke, you warm up the wine by doing this, okay? It doesn't look cool. It just looks like you don't know wine. Sorry to say that. So the first step is to look through your glass to define the color. Looking through your glass just like this, it's not so cool. We should have a white surface. The table is not completely white, but it's pretty good enough, I mean. You use the table to look at the color. Why are we looking at the color of the wine? To know if it's white or red, or rosé, it's true.
Transparent or not, to see if there's something in bottom?
So we look through the color because the color is telling you about the grape variety. Some varieties, so grape varieties is Syrah, Pinot Noir, Grenache. I don't know if you have heard of this before, but this is a grape variety, okay? So basically the color can tell you about the grape variety, but it can tell you most importantly about the age of the wine. How old is this wine? So when you look through your glass, if the wine has got purplish reflection, it means the wine is young. If it's a bit ruby, it means it's mature. And if it's orange on the side, it means it's old. And if it's brown, it means it's dead. You can pass it for chef for cooking. So this is basically about the color, is what we are looking at. And of course, it can give you indication of the grape variety as well, but it's not what we are looking at right away. And then I'm sure you have seen sommelier doing this. They turn the glass like this, and they look at what we call the legs or the tears. So you see these things dripping down, a bit sticky. This is what we call, I mean, if you don't know how to do that later on, I can show you. But when you stop moving your glass, you can see these things dripping. This thing is called the glycerol. It's basically a mix of alcohol and sugar. So heavier they are, more time they take to go down, bigger your wine will be. If they are lighter or you can't even see them, it means the wine will be lighter, basically. So it's giving you an indication of density of the wine. It's called the glycerol. So this is for the view. And then the second step. Yes, sniff, the nose, absolutely. So don't make that mistake that I see so many times in the restaurants. These guests that leave their nose forever in the glass, you know. They are like that. They think it looks like, well, no, bad wine. No, it doesn't look like that at all. So basically, when you smell the wine, you have to make sure you don't leave your nose for too long in the glass. Why? Because we have, on the edge of the nose here, a tiny membrane that is very sensitive to aroma. So I'm sure you have experienced that before. When you go into a room, it's a bit smelly, you're like, oh, you should have opened the window. You sit down in the room, and after a few minutes, you completely forgot about that smell because you are used to that. So our nose gets used to aroma. So at some point, you can put your nose as much as you want in the glass, you won't smell anything anymore. So it's really important that you turn the glass like this to open it up, to get the aroma. You smell and you think. You smell and you think. You don't smell and think at the same time. Anyway, this is not a problem for the woman, more for the men. Sorry, it's a joke. Okay, okay? So, fine, what do you smell? What do you smell?
I smell wine.
Oh, good point. So actually, it is not a stupid answer at all. And I'm telling you why. Because when I started to study wine and I was going to school every morning, we had testing at 9 a.m. sharp. I had all my colleagues in the room saying, oh my God, I smell truffle, I smell this. Oh my God, I smell the white, these kind of spices. And I smell the grass early in the morning after rain. I was like, what I'm talking about? I just smell wine, you know? But I figured out that smelling wine or tasting wine in general is a bit like learning how to read a book. You learn how to read a wine. Degustation, wine tasting is learning how to read a wine. So it takes time. The first book you open, you couldn't understand anything, right? Because you didn't have the key to read that book. But once you know how it works and you really practice it one day to another, I promise you, it's just coming like that. So one morning, I was with Michel Chapoutier, I remember all my life. I took this glass of wine, I put it in my nose, and for the first time, I could say what I was smelling without bullshitting. It was true. I was really smelling the raspberries cooked wine. It was fantastic. And for once, I didn't have to lie, because usually I was always trying to find a way to escape and inventing aroma or whatever. But this time it was true, and ever since I know how to smell a wine. So it's just a matter of practicing. If you keep drinking wine with never asking yourself any question, you won't learn. As simple as that. But you are right to do that. I mean, you can do that. It's up to you. As long as you drink wine, I'm happy. I'm not supposed to say that here, but anyway, so the smell. The smell is telling you about aroma, and aroma can define a grape variety or the age as well. We have different type of aroma, but it's a way too complicated and too long for tonight. But one thing you should remember is that aromas is personal. So nobody can tell you what you smell, because it's all here in your head, what we call the olfaction memory. So it's all this aroma that you collected since you are really, really young, from what your mom is cooking, from the garden where you grew up in, what type of vegetables you had inside. So it's very personal. So when I came to Singapore the first time and I tasted wine with my fellow sommelier Singaporean, and they told me, wow, this smell is like a mangosteen or rambutan. I was like, what? About? And me, I was like, it smells like laurier. I have no idea what I was talking about, and I had no idea what they were talking about. Can I say they were wrong and I was right? No, because this is personal. So when it comes to tell, in one of these dinners where everyone will tell me, oh, so you have been to a wine tasting the other night? So now you are an expert, right? So how this wine smell, I would be very interesting to know what you have learned. And then you will be like, oh, I give you tips. As long as the wine is red, it's a tip, right? Don't tell anyone. It's between you and I, right? You are this uncomfortable position in a dinner or whatever, and everyone is asking you about it. You can do this following step. You must look very confident, okay? So don't start by carrying your glass like this. It doesn't work. 99% of people don't understand wine anyway. You just look very confident. If you cannot do this like this, just put it on the table. Don't drip wine everywhere. It happens too often when people want to show off too fast, you know? You smell, you think, you look very confident and say, wow, it smells like red fruits. And then if you are, you're really, really confident, you can show up even more. Wow, I smell like raspberries. I don't know if it's blueberries or strawberries, but it works all the time. And nobody can tell you are wrong. So what I'm trying to say, don't be too snobbish about wine. Take it easy, okay? And nobody can tell you are right or wrong. It's personal. And with white wine, by the way, you can say white flower or citrus. It works all the time. You see it in all the wine tasting notes. So this is about the nose. What is the next step? Your favorite, I guess.
Yeah. Put it in your mouth.
Yes. So it will be too easy if you just open your mouth and finish, but there are a few steps to follow that really define the body of the wine. So when it comes to having your wine into your palate, it's not about aromas anymore. We talk about aromas when we do the nose. For the mouth, we are talking about flavors and texture. I'm sure you have heard it because I've seen it many times tonight. Big wine, rich wine, or poor wines. What I mean by that is not only the nose, how many aromas I had on my nose. No. What I mean by that is into your palate, how dense it is. Dense will be like the mango lassi, very, very rich. That will be a rich wine, that feeling. When sharp wine will be something that gives you the same feeling that if you will be drinking a lime juice or something like this. So this is what we mean. So we divide these steps by a few steps. Which one is the first one is the attack. So the attack is the really first feeling that you have when the wine just touches your lips. So that could be a rich feeling, or it could be a tiny feeling. You have to describe that, actually. Is it a rich attack, or is it a shy attack? It can exist when the wine is not so punchy at the beginning. Then you have the evolution. The evolution is when sommeliers are making this funny noise. I'm not washing my teeth, okay? I'm doing what we call grumer. Again, it's a French word, sorry, there's no translation. So grumer, it's international, but grumer means the action of turning the wine into your mouth with some oxygen. So grumer is to open up the wine and really take time to feel it. Wine is never straight like this. Wine could start very powerfully and just fall down completely. The sensations are never the same. So the attack can be quiet, and then suddenly during the evolution is boom, and then for the finish is down. Wine is never like this, it's always like this. So the attack is the first feeling, the evolution is when you start to describe what's going on there, and then you have the finishing. What is the very, very last feeling that you have before spitting the wine when we are in a professional tasting, but obviously tonight you will drink it. And it's followed by the lens. Very important, the lens. I'm sure you have heard of Caudalie before. It's a famous cosmetic from Bordeaux. Caudalie actually is the name of the unit of 1 second of length into your palate. So a long wine will have a few Caudalies, when a short wine will have no Caudalies or 1 Caudalie. It's how long can you still feel the wine into your mouth, into your palate, after drinking it. A short wine will be an easygoing wine. You drink it, finish. You don't feel anything anymore, it's gone. And it's okay. I mean, we need easy wine for everyday consumption, right? Or not everyday, sorry. And then you have got those long wines, very long lengths, and those wines are those that are meant to be kept, or those very rich and prestigious type of wine. So the length is giving you a lot of precious information when it comes to proper wine tasting. And after the lens, we have the retro-olfaction. You know that your nose is connecting to your mouth, right? So if you are really sick, you have a big flu, and you want to eat your favorite meal, you won't smell, you won't feel anything, you won't taste anything, because everything is coming from your nose, right? So the retro-olfaction is what kind of aroma is coming back at the end of this tasting. What aromas are coming from your nose through your palate. This is the retro-olfaction, is what we mentioned at the end. You want to try?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So I do the grooming.
Yes.
Okay.
And you tell us what you feel. Do it well or not? Yeah, okay.
I think it's not a short wine. it keeps like I keep the taste in my mouth like for a couple of times, and I think the attack is rich, and the end is pretty slow.
Right, it's a good start. I mean, I'm impressed because some people, I explained this for half an hour and they would tell me, oh, it tastes like strawberries. And I'm like, oh, no, it's good, it's good. It's very good, very good, very good. So do you like this wine? Because this is the most important at the end of the day.
Yeah, I like it.
You like it?
Yeah.
And actually, I like your approach because it's true. This wine is powerful and rich because this wine is full of sun. You have got in this bottle almost the cigala singing. This wine is from the southern part of the Rhône Valley in an area called the Costière de Nîmes, near Nîmes, if you know this town. So it's Grenache, Carignan, it's a lot of rich grape, and it's full of the sun of Provence. It's a very rich wine, but it's true that it's a bit short at the end because it's not a wine that is meant to be kept for long. It's a wine for the consumption now. Voilà. And the winemaker is Marc Credenweiss. He is not from the south of France at all. And he's from Alsace, a very, very famous winemaker in Alsace, one of the first to start biodynamic and to be certified AB in Alsace. And then he opened his vineyard in the southern part of Rhône Valley. And you see on the bottle, or you will see later, a sun, is because he's following biodynamic. And actually, if you have the chance to meet him one day, if you go tasting in France, I recommend you to speak with him because his vision on natural wines, biodynamic, all of that is really interesting. Voilà for the first wine. So we'll test the second one, and I will speak shortly about it. Do you want to do the tasting for the second wine?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's a Bordeaux.
Nope, it's not a Bordeaux. So I didn't want to be too French. So I chose Spanish wine.
Okay.
So it's from the Rioja and Tempranillo grapes, 60% majority. And it's from a winemaker, very interesting, who is certified organic in Spain, so AB, bio, but doesn't believe in biodynamic. So you want to test it and tell us what you think?
I cannot do the thing.
You're gonna do the grumet.
Yeah, but I think it's quite sour and a little bit like less bitter than the basic French wine that I've tasted before.
Oui, goûtez-le.
There are lots of bubbles, more than the other. There are more bubbles than the other.
Very good. Wow, do you look for a job for sommelier team? Okay.
I just have lots of experience, so go ahead.
So yes, absolutely, it's what we say in French, perlant, so a bit frizzy. And this is due to the method of wine producing that this winemaker is using. He's doing what we call a carbonic maceration. Too technical, I know. But basically, it's a maceration for which you will always keep a bit of gas, and is the main purpose to give this freshness, a bit of kick on in the bottle. So yes, he does that in purpose, and you notice it, very good. It's from Spain, so it's quite rich as well. And on the nose, this funky nose that you will smell later on the Spanish wine, it's what we call reduction. So reduction is the opposite of oxidation, is when the wine has got a lake of air. So if you have got a wine like this, you smell it, don't think that, oh my God, it's bad, it's terrible. No, just give it a bit of time. And if you have got a decanter at home, a carafe, you can simply put it in, and with some oxygen, this funky smell will just go. Voila. And then the next one, my favorite. Well, I love all of them, therefore I picked them, obviously, but this one is called Nuit d'ivresse. And it's from the Loire Valley, another wine region in France. And as Loire Valley red wine is made of 100% Cabernet Franc. And it's from the family Breton, Christelle Breton and her husband. And they work biodynamic and certified AB. Your turn. You didn't say about the smell, the nose.
Smells very different. Sorry, it smells really different than the previous one. I'd say that it's less acid than the other one. It's much more smooth, but the taste lasts really longer. I can still feel it now.
You like it?
Yeah.
You like it. Okay, thank you. I picked them, so I hope you like it. This wine, I don't know if you have noticed, has got again, not reduction this time, but a nose that could be a bit difficult for people to appreciate when we drink the wine on its own. It's a bit leathery, animal. Have you felt that? So it's definitely not the type of fruity kind of wine that you will enjoy on its own. It's a wine that needs food. And on the palate, something that I haven't spoke about yet, it's the tannin. The tannin is this dry feeling that you might get sometimes when you drink red wine, only red wine, because there is no tannin in the white wine. The tannins is a natural component of the grapes. It's in the seed, it's in the skin mainly, a bit in the stem, but not many people are using the stem in the wine producing. And in that wine, we feel it more than the others, so it's giving you really this feeling of it's a bit dry. We will say with sommelier term that the tannins are tight. So, voilà. Any question? Oui?
So how do you know which kind of wine goes with which kind of food? Or, I mean, you might like multiple wines, how do you choose between different ones?
Okay, I will make it short. So basically, the food and wine pairing could be a topic that could take 2 hours, especially when it's me talking about it because I love that so much. But basically, when you do in food and wine pairing to make it simple and sharp, you test the food, you test the wine. What is missing in the food, you try to find it into the wine. Or vice versa, meaning you have a plate. If I want to pick in my cellar a bottle of wine to match the food of my chef with the wine, I will say, okay, this plate is really rich. Let's say it's a stew, something, a meat that is really rich, really fatty, very, well, rich. I will like, okay, let's look for a red wine that has got enough freshness, acidity, to bring up that, to give a kick to it and to bring balance. So basically in the dish I will find what is missing into the wine. And vice versa, if you give me the bottle first, I will say, okay, this wine has got, it's very rich, it's very round, maybe a lack of acidity, freshness. So let's find a dish that will have a balance with some freshness to it to cut it down and to bring some volume. So this is the way it works. It's always a question of balance in terms of textures. Voilà.
One question just behind it.
Are there differences between French and Singaporeans concerning wine preferences?
Yes, definitely, because it's all about culture and taste. So there is difference about, I mean, I'll give you an example that maybe will make it clear for you. As a sommelier, now wine director, I'm facing guests from every country in the world in raffles. So my approach towards these guests will really depend on their nationality. I could be wrong sometimes, but in most cases it works. So Singaporeans are really open to worldwide wines. They don't have any chauvinism about any type of wines because they don't produce any. When you approach a French guest, you have to really be careful when you suggest a wine that is not from France. Because some of them will look at you like, wow, she's a French sommelier and she should expect me Australian wine, it's disgusting. You know, these kind of things. So I would say they are more open. And then for other nationality, when you speak with Australians or American, you need to be careful the term you use, because what will be a rich wine for me as a French and European will be a light wine to them. So I really have to adapt myself in terms of advices to each nationality. But I could be wrong, because it's not because the guy is from Australia that he drinks only Australian wines. Therefore, it's important to ask questions. Yes? Oui?
I just wonder what justifies the price of a wine, because I think it's definitely not the taste. It depends on people, so what justifies the price of a wine?
Terroir. So we don't put a price on the wine once it's finished. Or only for people who actually make wine and don't produce it. If you have got this really exceptional terroir with those poor soil that give amazing concentration and bring this beautiful texture into the wine, then this wine becomes special and the production is much lower, because who says smaller grapes, more concentration, will say the 35 or 25 hectoliters of wine per hectare versus a commercial wine that can produce up to 150 hectoliters per hectare. So this is the first reason, the production, and then the exception of this terroir. And of course comes the marketing side of it and how much people know about this appellation. Appellation is like Chablis. Chablis is an appellation. Champagne is an appellation. It's a specific area. We can call wine Champagne only those who come from Champagne and follow the specific rules of the appellation. So once this appellation becomes super famous, like right now we hear a lot about Puligny-Montrachet in Bourgogne again, bam, the price goes up because more people want it, but the production doesn't get bigger because you cannot make it any bigger. There is only one terroir. Voilà. Oui?
Maybe last question and then we go on.
Yes.
Sorry, guys. So when we talk about French wine, we have certain kind of levels. You have Premier Cru, Grand Cru, different kinds of that can actually help us to select wine in the supermarket or whatever in the shops. But I know nothing about wine produced in other countries. Like, do they have like similar system to identify to help us to to do the choice?
Very good question, and I'm sorry to disappoint you, but the Premier Cru and Grand Cru doesn't necessarily mean something. There's one thing you need to look at the bottle, and only one is who is the winemaker. If the winemaker is good, he can produce an easygoing wine for every day, it would be good as an easygoing wine. If the winemaker is good, you produce a Grand Cru, super good. If the winemaker is bad and commercial, he can have a Grand Cru, it will still be a so-so wine, you know?
But is it like identified from the system?
So I make it very short on that. In France only, we have got appellation system with Grand Cru, but they are different from a region to another. If you speak about Bordeaux, it's Napoleon III that in 1855 classified the chateau of Bordeaux by growth, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st growth, the Grand Cru classé of Médoc 1855. This has never been revised since that.
Okay.
Of course, so those wines, by the way, are Mouton Rothschild, Lafite Rothschild, all this kind of wine as you may have heard of before. Of course, the quality is still there, but I hope so. $1,000 a bottle, and then you have different systems. When you go to Burgundy, they don't classify the chateau, the castle. They classify the soil. So let's take Chablis as an example. Chablis is a little town in the northern part of Bourgogne where they are famous to make white wine only, made of Chardonnay, as every white wine in Burgundy almost. And wines coming from the town of Chablis itself are called Chablis. Wines making from the beginning of the slope behind the town of Chablis are called Chablis Premier Cru, followed by the name of the slope in question. And then the wine coming from the top of the slope are called Grand Cru of Chablis. So it's really by the soil. So to me, the system this way makes a little bit more sense than other systems like Bordeaux. But don't say people from Bordeaux, I say that. I hope there's nobody from Bordeaux here. But basically, soil versus what Napoleon III said in 1855. So that's the difference. Voilà. Good enough?
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you very much. Thank you.